Okay, so I finished the extracurricular activities um off cam because it wouldn't let me save during them, so I don't know what that was about. But anyways, I found myself concerned by a group of students that are looking at me eagerly. You're the new Oracle? Do you think you could give us some predictions? They've gathered around me with such enthusiasm that I feel like they might just break my fingers off if I refuse. But I'm not exactly confident in my abilities yet, and I can't exactly conjure up visions at will. The students sense my hesitations and press harder. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Please, we'll buy you lunch for a week. My stomach rumbles at the thought of food. It's not a bad deal, I suppose. What should I do? Give them false prophecies or attempt to get a reading. Attempt. Okay, but I can't promise anything. The students nod eagerly, and I close my eyes and concentrate. After several minutes, I open them again to see a bunch of disappointed faces. Sorry, it's just not working. I can't see anything. Some of them look disappointed. A couple look in. I don't know what the word is. As if they think I'm lying, but they don't push me. They don't push the matter. They just turn and walk away. Is this what's going to be like now? I need time to adjust to this whole thing before I start giving out prophecies. What should I do today? Alright, so we can get logic. We can get charm. We can get control. Sneak into the east storm. It's locked. Let's meditate. I've been so busy, I haven't really had much of a chance to practice my meditation. I want to make sense of a vision I keep seeing. As scary as it was, I want to have the vision again. Maybe if I concentrate really hard. I close my eyes, attempting to close out all the sights and sounds around me. It's much harder than I anticipated. I only managed to make it a few moments before my eyes open again. I just can't concentrate. The concept of meditation is not exactly new to me, but I never had much of a reason to attempt before now. It's okay, just keep trying. I spend the rest of the afternoon repeating this pattern. Close my eyes, take a deep breath, empty my thoughts. I don't manage anything close to a vision, but I think I'm getting better at blocking out the outside world. Sweet. I suddenly notice that the hallway is absolutely covered with pink flyers. Curious, I stop to look at one. Dias Amoris. Let's bring back the day of love. What does it mean? Is this something like Valentine's Day? As I'm examining the words, a figure collides with me, nearly knocking me to the ground. A stack of pink posters goes flying everywhere. A small, pretty girl with curly pink hair looks up at me, clearly embarrassed about the collision. Whoa, sorry. It's fine, let me help you. I bend down to help the girl pick up the paper she dropped. Oh, thank you, my name is Lisette. You're Nori, right? That's right. What are these flyers for, anyways? Oh, I'm trying to resurrect Dias Amores. It's an old tradition we used to celebrate here until the student council decided it was a waste of time, as if love could be considered a waste of time. Her eyes flare as she picks up the last few pieces of papers and puts them in her backpack. She's quite angry about the whole affair. So you're trying to get them to change their mind? Of course, the student council is made up of entirely overachievers and rich kids, so they obviously don't understand the importance of romance. Her voice rises in volume when she speaks, her eyes sparkle with passion. Then she looks at me once more. Do you want to help me? How could I help you? Lisette considers for a moment before breaking into a big grin. We just need to get those snobs in the student council to realize how important love is. Maybe we could organize a romantic interlude for a couple of them. If we get them to fall in love, they'll surely understand the importance of the day of love. I am a little skeptical of this plan. Have you tried asking them to resonate the holiday? Of course I have. They just don't get it. Although you look like you might be more convincing than I am. Maybe they'd actually listen to you. I consider for a moment. Do I want to help Lisette? Um, let's see. Let's see what our... We don't have any insight. We have a little bit of leadership. We have a little bit of logic. Help play matchmaker. I consider for a moment. I like to think I have a pretty good idea of what would make a believable romantic letter, but who knows? I take a deep breath and begin writing. Dear Rex, I hope you aren't too busy studying for exams. This may sound sudden, but would you meet me in the summer courtyard? Dulcie. Lisette reads over my shoulder as I copy the note, swapping the recipient's name. Is it romantic enough? You said to make it believable. Would either of these people write something sappy? Perhaps not, but it's a shame, really. Okay, let's go deliver it. I follow Lisette to the dorms, where she deftly slides one of the notes under the door, then she knocks and retreats down the hallway back to where I'm standing. What now? Now we wait and see if he takes the bait. The door opens and a tall boy pokes his head out, confused to find no one standing there. Then his eyes fall to the envelope on the ground. He opens it and, glancing around again if the sender could be hiding nearby, he then reads that his face scrunches up in confusion. Then he crumbles the note into a ball and retreats back into his room, closing the door behind him. Oh no, it looks like he wasn't moved by the letter. Maybe he didn't feel any real attraction towards Dulcie. I could have sworn I saw them making eyes at one another. Oh well, back to the drawing board, I guess. Thanks for your help. With that, Lisette heads off, leaving me alone in the corridor. I guess love didn't win this time. Rip. I returned to my room that evening exhausted. Time for some more sleep. Once again, I get that intense feeling of a dream that's not really a dream, just a wash of colors and images taking over my consciousness. I sit up and stare into darkness. This is the second time now that I've been woken by this feeling. Am I doomed to have my sleep interrupted forever? I'm not sure I like this method of receiving information. Not knowing when it's coming is not only jarring, but also completely useless. I never have time to actually grasp any of the images I'm seeing. I close my eyes in a feeble attempt to force the images back in my head. If I could just see them one more time. But it's no use. Whatever it was, it's gone. Just like the first time, it's nothing but a brief flash that I can't hold on to. I really need to consider spending more time controlling these visions. If nothing else, maybe I can stop them from interrupting my sleep. Oh shit, week 2. On Monday morning, I'm awoken quite early by a sudden light filling the room. For a moment, I'm certain it's just Rayla turning on the light. But as usual, she's already gone. Instead, I see a glowing white orb of light floating silently in the middle of the room. Startled, I gather my bed covers around me, as if somehow that will save me from whatever this thing is. At first, the orb just floats there. Then it speaks. Good morning, Miss Adonis. I've been asked to inform you that the headmaster, Balin, would like to see you in his office at your earliest convenience. Good morning, orb thing. I am not an orb, I am a wisp. Oh right, a wisp. What is a wisp? I am not a what, I am a who. Somehow the wisp's musical voice sounds almost offended. I fumble for how to respond to the creature, but it's had enough of me. It dissipates, leaving me in the dark once again. Well, I'd better not keep Professor Balin waiting. Balin. I should have time to stop by his office before classes. But first, I gotta choose my electives for the week. Okay. I'm gonna go to zoology. We'll do that. With my schedule completed, I quickly get dressed and head for the headmaster's office. I haven't been here in the headmaster's office since my arrival a week ago, and once again my eyes were automatically drawn towards the mirror. Its surface swirled hypnotically. Thankfully, I don't have a chance to get lost in its bottomless facade again, as Professor Balin calls me to sit down. Good morning, Miss Adonis. I see you got my message. Yes, sir, your wisp came to visit me. Ah, yes, but it's not mine per se. The wisps work for the school, mostly as messengers. Wisps can move more quickly, so they are excellent for the job. So a wisp is a radiant? Why, yes, the wisps are an ancient race, much older than most, in fact. Sarenvale employs several of them. Excuse me. Sarenvale employs several of them to deliver news amongst the staff, but most wisps prefer to stay in their home in the forest, far away from the rest of our society. I apologize for not giving you fair warning. I'm sure it must have been startling to see one for the first time. A little, but it's okay. I find it fascinating. I don't even remember what I was calling him. Was I Professor Balin? I think Balin. Or Balin. We'll call him Professor Balin. I'm sure it's not your first surprising thing you've encountered in your first week here, which is actually why I've called you, and I wanted to check in with you and find out how your first week with us at Sarenvale has gone. Did you have any difficulties? I'm a little hesitant to burden the headmaster with my worries, but he did ask after all. Well, I guess I'm a little concerned about my oracle abilities. What about them exactly? That they don't work correctly. What makes you think that they aren't working correctly? The visions come so suddenly and I'm never prepared. I've tried to hold on to the image, but it's completely out of my control. This is an understandable concern, but you should not be so hard on yourself. The mind is like any other muscle, Miss Adonis, and in your current state, you are using part of your mind that you've never had access to before. With proper exercise, your mind will improve. So how exactly do I exercise it? Well, what have you tried so far? Not much, a little meditation, I guess. Then keep at it. You will learn some more efficient techniques in your Friday classes with me, but until then, don't stop trying. Meditation is an excellent way for a beginner to exercise her mind. You may feel like you are behind, but you will be very surprised by how quickly things will come to you. Don't lose hope. Just like the first time I sat in Professor Balin's office, I found myself feeling instantly more relaxed at his words. Surely his siren abilities must have some ambient effect on my mood, even though he claims he doesn't use those abilities lightly. I think I know something that will help you. You do? I want to set you up with a special tutor, one that has very strong mind abilities. I could personally practice with you to see you get a grasp of your visions. That sounds great. Remember our first meeting when you showed interest in the old mirror here in my study? How could I forget it drew my attention once again the moment I entered this room today? I remember. It was called an oculus, wasn't it? Good memory. I also told you that the oculi, one of the radiants that lived in the realms beyond the mirror, attends the school. That is who I'm going to have you tutor. Wow, that is who I'm going to have tutor you. I think back to the dark swirling surface of the oculus and remember how I envisioned some equally dark and scary entity that must live in there. So my tutor is going to be one of them. Oculi are extremely talented in the gifts of the mind. They specialize in farsight and the ability to see present events over any distance. They also are all destined for greatness. A large percentage of great and terrible figures in radiant history have been oculi. They are truly remarkable beings. All this talk isn't really making me feel more at ease about the thought of being tutored by a mere person. Don't call them mere people, Nori. Pretty sure they wouldn't like that. In any case, I will set everything up for you and send a missive at the end of the week with time and place. I am certain that you'll be able to master your visions in no time under his tutelage. The professor gives me a smile, then turns his back to me and busies himself with some other task. I am clearly dismissed. He didn't even tell me the name of my tutor. Time for today's elective class. Zoology. We spend the class learning more about many classifications of animals in radiant culture. That was a short day. I arrived right on time for my second alchemy class, but after last week's potion explosion, I'm a little hesitant to return. The professor is already calling the class to attention and proceeds to deliver today's lab partner assignments. I look around and catch Syndra eyeing me warily. Please don't let me be paired up with her again. She'll probably sabotage me on purpose or set me on fire, whichever. Nora, you'll be working with Mr. Yoshino today. I give a sigh of relief. Looks like I won't be burned today after all. Hey partner, ready to do some science? I'm pleased to see a familiar face in front of me. I'm about as ready as I'll ever be. I just realized I've run into you a couple of times now, but I haven't officially introduced myself. My name's Nori. Oh, I know, everyone knows your name by now. Do they? You think a human can join our little school without the old gossip wheel churning nonstop? I couldn't escape the rumor mill if I wanted to. I don't know if I want to be a part of the rumor mill. Oh, I totally didn't mean it that way. I should really learn to shut up. Let's just start over. He reaches his hand out and I take it, shaking it vigorously. Nice to meet you, Nori. I'm Kai Yoshino. Nice to meet you, Kai Yoshino. So, what kind of science are we doing today? I glance over our instruction sheet. This doesn't appear much different from last week's assignment. It's just a matter of mixing the proper ingredients. After last week's disaster, I am determined to read this list over at least twice before I add anything to the pot. Here, you start mixing the first set of ingredients and I'll work on this part. We get to work following the instructions carefully. Apparently, the strange contraption on the desk is called a alembic, and it's used to distill chemical mixture. It looks like something I think I might have seen in a video game at some point, but I suppose I don't have video games here. I'm actually pretty glad you showed up. That means I am no longer the new kid. You were the new kid before me, I mean? Sure was. I transferred here from Riverscar. And judging by the blank look you're giving me, you have no idea where that is. You have guessed correct, human. Remember, I barely know where I am now. Oh, so you're young, so innocent. I'm gonna have a great time educating you. Riverscar isn't far from here. It's another university like Sarenville, except it's exclusively for Therians. And what are Therians? Shifters or any radiant whose race is mixed with an animal like me. I'm Kitsune. Well, half Kitsune. My mother was Kitsune and my father was a radiant. So you can shapeshift. Yep, my fox forms is actually my natural state. This form that you see me now is just for show. That's amazing. You're probably the only one who thinks so. I'm the only shifter here at Sarenville. Therians don't typically get along with the Radiants. Why not? Who knows? Therians are territorial by nature, but the feeling is mutual. Radiant race tends to think that Therians are beneath them, and we Therians do have a tendency to go with our animal instincts at times, which can be troublesome. So yeah, here at Sarenville, surrounded by nothing but Radiants, I'm a total outcast. Kinda like you, human. I give a weary smile, not sure how he can be so casual about being looked down upon. I guess that means we've got something in common. United in exile. Sounds like a story for the ages. So, why did you transfer to Sarenvale? Kai shrugs and remains silent for a moment, turning his focus back on our experiment. It's okay if you don't want to tell me. Nah, it's no big deal. I just got into some trouble, that's all, and the headmaster at Riverscar thought I'd be better off here. It's clear he doesn't want to give details, so I decided to let it go. We focused on our lab assignment, and despite my reservations, I managed to get through it without blowing the place up. This is a huge improvement from last week. Well, I'll try not to take all the credit for that, but I have been known to be a calming presence. Is that so? I can't help but laugh at his bravado, even though I have a feeling it's mostly for show. The rest of the class goes smoothly, and I have to admit, I do feel more calm in Kai's presence. We finish up our assignment and begin to head out. Catch you later, human. He gives me another wink before he disappears into the crowd of students. I hurry out of the alchemy classroom and head for today's elective. Chanting. Today we practice chanting with one of the oldest and simplest of techniques, repeating a single syllable while in meditation. While it may seem dull, I left the class feeling refreshed and focused. I cannot talk today. Alrighty, at Wednesday, week 2. Okay, it's going by quick. I'm sitting in math class on Wednesday morning when I see it, the same flash inside my mind. Oh no, not here, not in the middle of class. This is the first time this has happened to me in broad daylight when I'm wide awake with my eyes open. But my eyes might as well not be open because the images completely take over my vision as if I'm blinded. Thankfully, no one seems to have noticed what just happened to me. Unfortunately, I can no longer concentrate on the equations. I'm too busy thinking about the images I saw. I struggled through the rest of the class, thankful when it's finally over. As I'm making my way through the grounds, a whispering voice in my ear makes me practically jump out of my skin. Well, if it isn't the toxic beauty. I turn to see a familiar smirking face close to mine. Somehow he's managed to sneak up behind me. Don't call me that. We never got to finish our conversation in the courtyard. After your attempt to poison me with the fumes, I figured you owe me a little more attention. I don't owe you anything. Besides, I don't have time to stand around and chat. I actually have to attend classes, you know. That must be a drag. Well, some of us don't really have a choice if we want to graduate. Again, with the school talk, you clearly need a break from school. He's not completely wrong about that. My first week of school in this new place has been particularly draining, and I'm not about to admit that he's right. Why don't you come to my room tomorrow night? Ooh, what? Gray gives a look of confusion at my outrage, then breaks into laughter. Oh, not for that reason though. I'd certainly enjoy that as well. I'm having a little get together in my room. Plenty of other people will be there. It's in the East Dorm tomorrow night. Isn't it against the rules to visit the East Dorms at night? I remember reading in the handbook that it was severely frowned upon for female students to be in the men's dorms house after hours. I had thought about it. It was pretty an archaic rule. But this place has all sorts of rules I'm not used to. Do you really care that much about the rules? Lawful, I do kind of care about the rules, but I decide not to share that information. It's none of his business. I give a non-committal shrug in response. Seeing that I'm not going to give him the response he's looking for, he takes my hand and scribbles a number onto the back of it. Hey! I protest, but it's too late. I look down at the hand and see what I assume to be a room number written on it. Just come to that room tomorrow night if you change your mind. 10 p.m. Don't get caught. With that, he just saunters off, leaving me standing alone in the pathway. It's time for my first club meeting. The moment I arrive at my first mystery club meeting, I'm practically tackled by the excited girl that recruited me during the first week. Oh my god, you actually came. Well, you made a pretty convincing pitch. I know. I just wasn't sure if you were actually interested. But oh my god, this is so great. There hasn't been an oracle at this school in hundreds of years, so I bet we can all learn all kinds of interesting things from you. Oh, I don't know about that. Oh, I know you're still new, but you won't be for long. Oh my gosh, how rude of me. I know all about you, but you don't know anything about me. I'm Tanya. I'm a specteri. That's a radiant that controls colors. How does someone control color? Well, it's actually more complicated than it sounds. All specteri have different levels of control. Some can use colors to blend in with their surroundings, and some can convert the colors around them into light, which has all sorts of uses. But tell her what you can do with those, Tana. A voice chimes out from the entry of the room. Tanya gives a little sigh as she turns towards it. Hello, Dex. Nori, have you met Dex? He just joined the club too. We didn't meet, sort of. Decimus is my actual name, but since most people can't seem to pronounce it, I'll settle for Dex. Don't let me interrupt your conversation. You were about to tell the new student what you could do. No, I wasn't. Oh, come on. Don't be embarrassed. Tanya gives another sigh and turns towards me. Dex is just giving me a hard time because I'm not exactly the shining example of the specteria in our community. My ability is kind of useless. Tanya hesitates, but Dex continues for her, enjoying himself way too much. She makes pretty light shows. Light shows? Show her, Tanya. Once again, she hesitates, and I'm about to tell her not to listen to Dex prodding, but she smiles. It's okay, I don't mind. Here it goes. She does a small flourish with her hand, and a color image appears in the air, like a pinwheel made of light. It's really quite pretty. I could see humans back in my world paying actual money to see something like this, like magical fire display. She flicks her wrists again, and the colors stop, but I find myself wanting to watch more. That was actually really cool. Why do you think your ability is bad? Oh, it's not bad per se, it just has no practical use in the real world. The rest of my family had far better abilities. One can turn light into weapons, and another can create powerful illusions using only the color in the room. But that's why I decided to focus my energy on this club. I know I can uncover some great secrets of this place that have been buried for ages. That's how I plan to be useful. You may actually have a chance now that you have more members. It's then I notice that the club is actually quite empty. There's a small handful of students chatting amongst themselves, but less than I would anticipated. I suppose this is why Tanya was recruiting so heavily last week. Well, you're right about that. I am thrilled that more people have decided to join our club, even you, Dex. Dex gives a little sneer, but I can tell he's actually pretty interested in the club himself. His attitude last week proved as much. Which reminds me, since you two are new, I'm afraid you'll have to go through the test. We all had to do it, and it's very important to the integrity of the club. There's a test? Oh, you see, I need to know you two are serious about this. In the past, we've had some issues with people who tried to join the club, but they didn't actually believe, you know? What are you going to make us do? It's really not a big deal, and once you've done it, you're golden. What is it, Tanya? You have to spend 1 hour in the cold room. I stare, having no clue what that means, but Dex burst out laughing. Oh, is that all? Yeah, that's all, but you shouldn't take it so lightly, Dex. Okay, Tanya, we'll do it. We will? Yes, we will. I wait for Tanya to explain further, but she doesn't. Instead, she moves to the front of the room and calls the group's attention. Everybody, as we already discussed, our 2 new members will complete their initiation today. The other students are all nodding in approval. I'm not sure if I should feel nervous, but Dex doesn't seem to be concerned. Maybe it's no big deal. Maybe I just have to sit and endure a cold room for a while. I can do that. Okay, you two, come with me. We follow Tanya out of the classroom and down the hall. After walking for several moments, I realize we are heading towards the winter quad. I guess I shouldn't be surprised if this school has any mysteries. Why wouldn't they be in an old abandoned wing? Tanya stops outside a door near the end of the hallway. This is the cold room. As I said before, all you have to do is spend 1 hour in here. If you do, you pass the test. Got it? Am I allowed to know what's in there? Part of the test is going in with an open mind. Anything I tell you beforehand may cloud your thoughts. She pulls out the largest key I have ever seen and inserts it into a lock. The door opens and she ushers us inside. I notice right away that the room is not in fact cold, nor is it creepy or desolate. It has the appearance of an ordinary classroom or study hall. However, for a room it's supposedly abandoned, it seems as if it's been in use recently. There's a little dust on the surface and books line the desktops as if it had students just been there, studying mere hours ago, if not decades ago. Thought this place was supposed to be deserted. It is. These rooms haven't been used for a long time. Don't let its appearance fool you. Things aren't always as they seem. On that ominous note, she switches gears. So, are you ready? Just stay in here until I come and get you, okay? I have so many questions, but she doesn't give me the chance. Tanya hurries out of the room, closing the giant door behind her. I hear the loud click of the key in the lock. No getting out now, I guess. As soon as she's gone, I turn to Dex. So, are you gonna tell me what the deal in this room is? Or you seem to know all about it already? Some people think it's haunted. Well, is it? No, of course not. Ghosts do not exist. I'm actually kind of surprised to hear this. I've seen all the manner of creatures here that I thought didn't exist, but ghosts? Ghosts are something that many humans still believe in. To find out they aren't real is a little unexpected. Why is it called the cold room? Supposedly, when the ghosts appear, the room becomes colder, but only hopeful idiots believe that story. I've never met anyone that has actually ever seen a ghost itself. If people have experienced a chill in this room, it's certainly not caused by ghosts. So, you haven't actually spent time in this room before now? No, why would I? It's just a stupid story. Plus, this room is actually locked. Plus, this room is usually locked, and I'm not actually sure how Tanya managed to get the key. Do you think the headmaster gave it to her for the club? If that's the case, then he must not believe the ghost stories either. If there was something dangerous in here, he'd never offer up the key to a student. Or maybe he doesn't know she has it. It's possible. Tanya is not known for following the rules on the best of occasions. We lapse into silence, both of us sitting on the floor of the room. There are no working lanterns in here, but the windows cast enough moonlight that we aren't completely in the dark. After maybe a half an hour has passed, I decide I can no longer sit and I begin to wander around the room. It seems as if a real test here is to not succumb to the boredom while waiting for an hour to pass. I move about the room idly, picking up books and flipping them through. They're obviously course books, but none of them are familiar to me. As I walk the perimeter of the room, I feel a sudden chill down my spine. Is it actually getting colder in here? Are the stories true after all? I pause, trying to gather my senses around me. No, it feels completely normal again. The chill is gone. Maybe it was a draft. Maybe I just imagined it. I must be thinking of what Dex said about the room getting cold, and my mind decided to play tricks on me. I continue to walk around the room silently. How much longer do we have? Probably only a few minutes have passed, but it feels like an eternity. Dex has his eyes closed. I guess he decided a nap was a good way to pass time. Can't say I blame him. As I repeat my slow circle around the room, I feel it again, the coldness. I stopped abruptly and take a step back. The chill is gone. I step forward again, definitely colder. I look around wildly, searching for anything that would be causing a draft, a vent, a window, but I can't see anything of the sort. My logical brain wants to explain it away, but then again, the logic had already been tested multiple times in a few short days that I've been here to Sarenvale. I step out of the cold spot, unnerved. Should I wake Dex? He'd probably just tell me I'm imagining it. I don't really have time to debate the matter with myself any longer, because a voice suddenly whispers in my ear. You. I let out a yelp and run towards the other end of the room. Dex is immediately on his feet, startled. What? What happened? I stare wordlessly towards the corner I had just vacated. Dex follows my gaze. Did you see something over there? No, but it was cold and I think I heard something. Dex gives me a wary glance but moves towards the corner anyways. There, just a little to the left. Do you feel it? Dex circles around the area, looking towards the floor and ceiling. No, I don't feel anything. Really? Are you sure? Of course I'm sure. Everything is normal. You're just letting the story freak you out. There's nothing here. So the cold spot is gone? How can that be? I'm not about to go back to the corner to confirm, so I'll have to take his word for it. I bet if I hadn't told you the story, you wouldn't have even felt anything. Once you've convinced yourself that this room was colder, you manifested the voice as well. It's all in your mind. A few moments later, the door to the room opens and the light from the hallway spills into the room. Tanya appears, her eyes alight. You both made it. You didn't leave the room. Is that even an option? Yes, silly. I didn't lock the door back when I left. I just made you think I had locked it. If you had gotten scared, you would have tried the door and realized it was open. But it looks like you both have the nerves of steel. You're going to make excellent members of the Mystery Club. Hooray. Dex's voice is dripping with sarcasm. He can't seem to ruin Tanya's mood. She socks him playfully on the arm and then puts her arm around me. We are going to have so much fun. As we exit the darkness of the room, I glance back. What is actually in there? Is there actually a ghost? I may need to come back to that room sometime to find out for sure. I arrive back to my room, another day at Sarenvale complete. I put my thoughts on hold and drift off to sleep, excited for what tomorrow may bring. I am pretty excited about today's history lesson. To me, it's like learning about a whole new fantasy world, except it's not fancy at all. However, as I'm taking notes, I'm distracted by a couple of students whispering behind me. So what happened to Mr. Tanner anyways? The old history professor? Didn't he just retire? No, I heard he just disappeared. No one knows where he is. That's not right. I heard he was involved in some sort of animal attack and had to take the year off. Animal attack? Was it a Therian? Ladies, do you have something interesting to share with the class? The girls behind me stop whispering immediately as Professor Mordain focuses his attention on them. No, Professor. Gossip is natural, especially amongst youth, but don't let these rumors run away with you, okay? Yes, sir. The professor turns around and continues with his lecture. The girls start whispering again, softer this time. How did he hear us? Does anyone know his race? No, apparently no one knows except the headmaster. That kind of makes him more interesting, huh? Gods, don't start crushing on another teacher. We have enough trouble with the last one. The girls settle into silence and I can finally concentrate on the lesson. However, their conversation has me thinking, it seems I'm not the only one dying to know the powers of everyone around here. Why would someone keep their race and abilities a secret? Perhaps it's not a secret, but rather no one has bothered to ask. In any case, the girls have gotten me suddenly curious about Professor Mordain's abilities in particular. Time for today's elective class. Geomancy! Today I learned more about the history of geomancy, which mostly died out in the human world after the Renaissance period. Even Radiants don't use the geomantic methods anymore, but they still have considered it as an important tradition of centuries past. Classes are over for the day and I'm considering having a quiet night and catching up on my studies, but then I noticed the numbers scrawled on the back of my hand. I tried to scrub them off last night, but whatever ink Gray had used must have had super staying power. Of course, I haven't forgotten about the party Gray had invited me to, but I'm still uncertain if attending is a good idea. On the one hand, it would be my first real social event since I started attending Sarenville. On the other hand, I'm not sure I trust Gray. Plus, if I get caught in the storm after hours, it could mean demerits for me. The last thing I need to do is rake up demerits and get kicked out of the school for good. Instead, I could use this time to catch up on my studies, so what should I do? We're gonna go to the party. Maybe I'll peek in the party just for a few minutes. If it's terrible, I'll just leave. No harm done. Just as I made up my mind, Rhea burst into the room, dumping her books on the floor and immediately flopping on her bed. Long day? You have no idea. Do these teachers know that what they do could be considered abuse? Like, I mean, really. So I suppose you wouldn't be interested in going with me to a party then? Rhea sits up from her sprawled position, eyes immediately alight. Did you say party? I did. Some guy named Gray is having it in his room. Gray? Oh, that guy is bad news. Of course I want to go. But you just said he was bad news. And that's why it's definitely going to be a great party. Rayla jumps out of bed and drags me to standing position. Wow, you'd think you were the one who was trying to convince me to go. I practically am, considering you're still not moving. Okay, but only if we're careful. We're not supposed to be in the east dorms after dark, right? Oh, don't worry, I'm kind of an expert in stealth. We're not gonna get caught. Well, it's not as if I hadn't already been trying to convince myself to go before she arrived. I conceded and allowed her to drag me out of the room. As we tiptoe silently through the halls, my curiosity gets the best of me and I have to ask. So, earlier when you said Gray was bad news, what did you mean by that? Shh, keep your voice down. Our stealth tactics don't work if you're yelling. I definitely wasn't yelling, but I lower my voice anyways. So, what's so bad about him? I don't really know him. It's just what I've heard. He's your typical player type, gets a lot of girls to fall for him and then drops them. Somehow this news doesn't surprise me. Gray had no trouble flirting with me during our first meeting, despite having no idea who I am. Rayla side-eyes me. You're not interested in him, are you? Maybe a little? Well, he's kind of pretty, so I can't say I really blame you, but I wouldn't get too attached. I can't be attached yet. I barely know the guy. That's never stopped anyone before. That guy has some kind of magic pixie dust surrounding him. I think that's the smoke. Wait, does that mean pixie dust exists? Don't be silly. There's no such thing as pixies. Oh wait, I think this is it. We stop at the door and I look to the number written on my hand, 403. Yep, this is it. The hallway is dark, but I think I can hear voices coming from within. It's not super loud though. Maybe this is a much smaller party than Gray had let on. Rayla knocks and the door cracks open. The sound, constant chatter, and music immediately pours out of the room. These walls must be extra soundproof to contain all this racket. An unfamiliar face appears at the crack of the door. Who is it? Rayla and Nori. The door closes in response and I look at Rayla confused. Did we just get rejected? Impossible. The door opens again and Gray appears, grin on full display. He looks as handsome as always, but I notice he also looks a little tired. Maybe he pulled an all-nighter or something. My little toxic one, what a lovely surprise. I just knew you wouldn't be able to resist sneaking out to visit my little shindig. Toxic one? Rayla whispers in my ear from behind. Don't ask. Gray ushers us quickly into his room and closes the door behind us. This room is much larger than the one I share with Rayla. It features a decent-sized common area with 2 smaller bedrooms on each side. Gray waves his arms dramatically as if presenting the room to us. Welcome to my humble abode, and you brought me a gift. Gray's eyes are on Rayla, and he takes her hand into his and bows dramatically. Who is this lovely creature? Rayla takes her hand out of his and wipes it on her skirt. Save it, pretty boy, you're not my type. That actually makes me want you more. I interrupt, hoping to stop this nauseating display. Gray, this is Rayla, my roommate. And your friend Honori's is a friend of mine. Make yourselves a home. Mikasa es su casa, as the humans say. However, I'm afraid I must attend to some of my other guests. But we'll talk later. He says this last bit to me directly. Attend to his guests? Really? The way he's acting, you'd think this was some fancy dinner party in a dorm room thrasher. Gray saunters away from us and immediately is surrounded by a group of giggling girls who have obviously been obnoxiously waiting his return. Guess I know what he meant by attending to his guests. I turn away from them and look around the room. There are a lot of people here, which is impressive. And it's such a small room. I just got here, but I already need to freshen up. It's so hot in here. I feel like I just ran a marathon. Go ahead, I'll catch up with you. It's not like I'll lose you in the dorm room, even if it's packed with people. Never say never around here. I look around for any familiar faces and notice Kai from alchemy class, as well as a less welcome sight, Syndra. Talk to Kai. Kai seems like the safest option of conversational companions in this place. I weave through the crowd towards him and he gives me a winning smile as I approach. You're maybe the last person I expected to appear. Hold on. Just in case, bitch, because you never know. You're maybe the last person I expected to appear at a party like this. You know so little about me, oh human one. Maybe I secretly love trolling about rich boys' ridiculous room parties in my spare time. Rich boy? You don't even know whose party you're attending? That's some real party dedication. I like your style. I mean, I know this is Gray's room. Yeah, he's a rich boy. His dad practically funds the school. Well, I guess that explains how he's able to stay here without actually attending classes. And why he has a large room. I'm pretty sure his dad is on the Radiant Council. For someone who hasn't attended the school for much longer than I have, you sure seem to know a lot. I have eyes and ears everywhere, my friend. That is how you truly get ahead in life, observation. Which is actually part of why I'm here, to observe. And what have you found out so far, Mr. Observer? That these parties are really, really dull. Oh, come on, it's not so bad. Better than studying, right? Good point. Think I need to bring you along to all my observations. Does that mean make me an observational assistant? Sure. Nori Honorary OA. Non-paid position, of course. Of course. Speaking of observing, I see a couple of my classmates over there about to get into a brawl. I glance in the direction Kai is looking and notice two very muscular-looking guys that look like they're about to start slugging each other any minute. Rhodolites, they have a tendency to get a little over physical at times. They'll probably hit each other with anything, probably fighting over whose haircut is the coolest. Aren't you a Rhodolite? Only because they don't know where else to put me. Hey, I'm gonna go see this action close up. You should go mingle, new girl, chat, frolic, whatever young people do these days. He says if you aren't a young person yourself. Foxes mature faster than normal. At least that's the excuse I'm going with. See you later, Kai. He practically scampers off towards action and I decide to take his advance and mingle. As I mill about the party, a guy approaches me with a tray filled with oddly elegant looking drinks. Once again, I feel the strangeness of formality in this room party. Can I offer you a beverage? I eye the drinks suspiciously and he laughs at my wary look. Don't worry, they aren't alcoholic. Well, okay then. Don't mind if I do. I take one of the elegant looking drinks off the tray and give it a sip. It has a very sweet and almost floral flavor to it. It's delicious. I thank the guy for the drink and he ambles off. Does Gray really have his own drink boy? How does he get away with all these things? I polish off my drink at record speed as Rayla joins me again. I am so glad you talked me into coming to this party. I needed the release. I'm pretty sure it was you who dragged me out the door. Whatever, it's still nice to be out, not thinking about school and stuff. You seem really stressed out about your classes. I just have a lot of pressure on me by my parents, by the dryad community in general, by everyone really. I see the drink boy walk by again. I snatch another of the pink drinks from his tray. They are really good. They don't seem to understand that I'm not really interested in returning to the Grove. I want to do something else with my life, like, I don't know, start a band or something. What's the Grove? Is that where you grew up? That's what we call a group of dryads. Kind of like witches having a coven. We have a grove. I see, so what kind of band would you start? Who knows? I'd have to actually learn to play an instrument first. Hey, you want to be in my band? At As I'm considering this question, someone knocks into me from behind, causing me to lurch forward. My pretty drink goes flying across, covering Rayla in sweet liquid. Startled, I set the empty glass down. Excuse me. On a nearby surface, and another magically appears in my hand from the side of me. That drink boy is good. I turn around to face the culprit of shoving me, but the crowd is now so thick in here I can't pinpoint who it was. I look back at Rayla, who was trying to vein and mop off the contents of my spilled drink off her shirt. I'm so sorry. Totally not your fault. It's getting really crowded in here. I'm gonna go clean this mess off. Stay right here, okay? I nod and sip on the latest drink, observing my action around me. The crowd seems to have shifted somewhat, but I notice that I'm feeling a bit dizzy. Did the guy hit me or on the head or when I was bumped? I sit down on the nearest available surface, but my spinning head doesn't seem to slow down. Suddenly, this party seems very loud. I place my face into my hands, willing my head to stop throbbing. Are you really so depressed to be here that you're sulking all alone in a corner? I look up to see Gray's face smirking at me. I apologize. I know I haven't paid you my fullest attention this evening. No, I'm just not feeling so well. Have you been drinking? Not that I judge you, of course. I have several vices myself. No, I just drank some of that juice you have. Your drink boy was passing around. Gray's eyebrows raise, and he notices the empty glass sitting beside me. He picks it up and looks at it. This drink, you mean? Yeah, he said it wasn't alcoholic. Well, it's not. For radiance. What does that mean? This is shadeberry juice. It has a slight euphoric effect when consumed by radiance, which is why it's a popular party drink. But it's also known to have a more intense effect on humans. Oh, my head continues to pound, and I put my face into my hands again. Come with me. Let me take you somewhere more quiet. I am feeling much too terrible to protest, so I let him lead me through the crowded common area into what I assume his bedroom. It's much larger and fancier than my own. It's also empty and blissfully quiet. I sit on the bed and Gray disappears briefly, returning with a glass of water. How many did you have? I'm not even sure. Maybe 3? Well, no wonder. Drink this. I gulp the water gratefully and slump lower onto the bed. Gray immediately returns to the bathroom to refill my glass. So, was this your first instance of the lone human getting bamboozled by unfamiliar radiant traditions? Hopefully it'll be my last. I would have warned you if I had seen you with that drink. You were pretty occupied with all your admirers. The words are out of my mouth before I can stop them, and I bite my tongue. Why did I say that? Are you jealous? Maybe a little. It's not until he says it that I realize that maybe I am a little jealous, which is ridiculous because I hardly know Gray. I don't know, maybe. Don't worry, I'm not interested in them for the same reason I'm interested in you. And what reason is that? For which one? You or them? My sure to be snarky response is interrupted by someone bursting into the room. No worry, there you are. I've been looking for you, and you weren't where I left you. Are you okay? Her eyes dart between me and Gray, a look of distrust in her eyes. Don't worry, I'm fine. She drank the shadeberry juice. Oh goodness, oh goddess, I'm so sorry, Nori. I saw you with the drink, but I didn't even consider that it would have an effect on you. I kind of forget that you aren't a rad sometimes. It's okay, Rayla. Really, I'm okay now. Gray, help me. Rayla is still eyeing Gray suspiciously, but he seems unfazed. You should take Nori to bed, I think. Yeah, well, obviously I was going to. I'm really okay now. I attempt to convince him to stop fussing over me, but no one listens. Rayla scoops me off the bed, and I comply. My head protests the sudden movement, and I realize maybe I should go to sleep. As we head for the door, I turn back to Gray. Thanks for the help. Anything for you. Barf. I've got it from here. Himeros. Your public awaits you in the other room. We exit the room and spill into the dark hallway. It's just then that it occurs to me that we have to repeat our sneaky entrance to avoid getting caught. Except with my dizzy head, I can barely walk straight. Rayla is clutching me tightly, but this is a struggle. Okay, you just need to go slow and try not to make too much noise. The doormaster usually doesn't leave his room, but he's got super hearing. Okay, I can do this. Apparently I cannot do this. We almost make it to the stairwell leading back to our dorm. When I get nervous, sure the dorm master is right behind us. I look back over my shoulder and stumble forward, causing Rayla and myself to come crashing down to the floor. Almost immediately we hear loud footsteps echoing down the darkened hallway. What do I do? Should I run? Oh no. The dorm master is in front of us before I can even get a chance to stand up. Well, what do we have here? A couple of young ladies sneaking into the men's dormitory? Rayla and I both remained silent, not wanting to let on that we were sneaking out and not in. I am sure you know this is a serious infraction of the Sarenvale rules. It brings me no pleasure, but I must give you both 10 demerits. I don't know how to say that. Judging by the grin on his face, it does give him pleasure. But we both stick to our silence. Now, be on your way. We arrive back in our place, and I breathe a huge sigh of relief. I'm not sure sneaking around is good for my health. Pretty sure that's just the shadeberry juice. I'm sorry I got you in trouble. Oh, forget about it. It was worth it. I want to agree, but I'm far too tired to express it. All I can manage is to fall on the bed, clothes still on. It takes all my energy to pull myself out of bed in the morning. My pounding headache is gone, but I still feel exhausted. Let's just do this because I'm paranoid. However, today is my second Azurite class, the class I've been most looking forward to all week. I need to pull it together. I straighten myself up as much as possible and head out the door, feeling better already. However, when I arrive in the Azurite class, Professor Balin is nowhere to be seen. Instead, another semi-familiar face is in front of the class. It's the guy who walked me to the dorm house the other day. Arian, I think? Our first meeting had been a little frosty, so the jury's still out on whether or not this person is anything but a stuffy intellectual. Students, please take your seats. There's a bit of commotion as the students around me whisper amongst themselves. It looks like they're just as surprised to see Arian as I am. Where's Professor Balin? Professor Balin is always on Professor Balin is away on an important business. As I am his assistant, I will be leading the class today. You may call me Mr. Phalius. Until now, you've been concentrating mostly on theory, and while good foundation is important, it is useless without practical application. So today we'll be conducting a more constructive exercise. He turns and looks straight at me. You, what is your name? Does he not remember that we met before? Rayla did say he didn't pay much attention to underclassmen. I guess she was right about that. My name is Noria Adonis. And what is it that you do? I try to remember how Professor Balin had described my abilities during our first class. Well, I suppose I have a form of precognition. So future sight. Not an unuseful skill, but also woefully limited on its own. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be offended by what he is saying, but I don't have time to react because he continues. Are you able to summon your visions on demand? Not really. Not really? They kind of just come whenever they want. I can't really make them happen. And when do they come? Are you able to interpret them correctly? I think for a moment, feeling like I'm suddenly in a friggin' inquisition here. I've had a handful of visions in my short time at Sarenvale, but thus far they've been so jumbled together that it's been nearly impossible to understand any of them. I've been so focused on trying to control when the visions happen that I haven't considered what I'd do with them when they finally appeared on command. I take it by your silence that you have not, in fact, been able to decipher your visions. I open my mouth in feeble protest, but he turns his back to me and addresses the class. This is a perfect example of abilities gone to waste. A person with unutilized talents may as well not have those abilities at all. If you cannot control your mind, then the world will control you. It seems Miss Adonis has a lot of work to do. I hope the rest of you are not as grievously behind. I stare, bristling with frustration. I've been at Sarenvale for less than 2 weeks. How am I expected to already be able to control abilities I barely knew I had until recently? I attempted to tell him as much, but I'm not sure I can remain polite at the moment. I am also not sure it will do any good. Keep quiet. There's no point in arguing with this guy. However, his attitude makes me more determined to master these visions just to prove him wrong. The class continues with Arian pairing us up with other students of like-minded abilities. I am paired with Luria, a mousy sort of girl that specializes in remote viewing. Instead of seeing the future, she sees the present but can only see it over a short distance. Our exercise is an interesting one. I hold an image in my hand, and Luria attempts to describe to me what is the image using only her remote viewing. She is very good at it, which sort of makes me feel even worse about my own lack of control. When it's time to swap, Arian approaches us. I feel the hairs on my arms stand up, as if his icy demeanor is actually emanating, I don't know how to say that, a cold aura. This exercise will work a little differently with your precognitive abilities. Excuse me. Instead of attempting to see what is on the card your partner is holding, you will attempt to discern the contents of the card before she picks it up and draws its contents in your notebook. Drawing can sometimes help steer channel their visions in a more accessible manner. I think you will find this method advantageous. I have absolutely no idea how to do that, but I don't want to admit it to this guy. However, he is not fooled. It's apparent that you have never attempted this sort of thing before, so it's unlikely you'll be able to succeed right away. However, you must concentrate on the card that is about to be drawn. Close your mind to everything else and allow your vision to penetrate that image. Penetrate? Was that the word? Oh, there's some spelling errors up in here. The way he describes it is as if it's the most simple and obvious thing in the world instead of a completely abstract concept. Penetrate the image? I'm not even sure what that means. I wait for Arian to leave, as I'm not really sure I want him looming over me as I attempt this, but he does not go anywhere. Well, Miss Adonis, what are you waiting for? I give a little sigh and close my eyes, my hand poised over the notebook, a set of multicolored crayons at my disposal. I envision the stack of cards on the table, willing myself to see what is under the first card. Nothing happens at first, but I continue to concentrate. Penetrate the card, he said. I imagine the card in the stack becoming transparent enough that I can see what is on the other side, and I begin to get a brief flash in my mind's eyes. It's working. It's mostly blurry colors, but nothing with real shape. The flashes move so quickly that my mind can't focus on one thing. Usually when a vision comes to me, I just sit there taking in the visions passively. This time it's different. My hands automatically reach for the crayons and move across the rough paper of my notebook. At this point, any normal person would want to open their eyes to see what is being drawn, but somehow I know that will break my concentration and ruin everything. I just have to let it do what it wants and pray it will become something that actually makes sense. My eyelids flutter rapidly as the flashes in my mind become faster, brighter, and it takes only minutes for the entire process to complete, and yet it feels like much longer inside my head. When my hand finally stops, I open my eyes tentatively. I look down at my notebook and make a small noise of dismay. This drawing isn't anything, it's just a collage of colors blended into each other. There's no discernible object or scene, so unless this image is in the stack in some sort of abstract art, I just failed this experiment. Hold on, there's some lag. Why there's lag, I have no idea. Seeing the look on the face, Luria looks apprehensive as she turns over the card on the stack, and I look at the card and my face falls. It's a photo of a red bicycle on a field of bright green grass, and it's nothing like what I've drawn. The colors aren't even the same. My drawing consists of blues and yellows, not reds and greens. I couldn't even get the basic colors right. Arian looks on, his expression unreadable. He thinks I'm a failure, obviously, and aren't I? Luria has been able to use her vision to complete the exercise with relative ease. Me, on the other hand, wait, look at this. I look away from Arian's stern face and back towards Luria, who pulled the second image off the pile. This image is of an ocean and a bright yellow sun. I look again at my drawing, and the colors actually match, almost like I had drawn a blurred version of the image as seen by someone with really terrible eyesight. Not exactly as expected. This vision is as good as useless. But it's a start. Keep at it, Miss Adonis. He stalks off then, heading towards another pair of students. Luria beams at me and I can't help but smile back. Great job, Nori. Arian might not have been completely impressed, but this is as close as I have ever gotten to having a real purposeful vision. I may have missed my mark a bit, but I did manage to actually produce an image on purpose, and I won't let his impossible expectations sour my very first success story. When the class ends, I exit into the hallway with a spring in my step. Time for today's elective class. There's like some lag. Geomancy, level 1. Today I learned more about the history of geomancy, which mostly died out. Okay, we read that. I awake on Saturday morning to another bright light filling my room. This time I'm ready for it. Hello, Wisp. Good morning, Miss Adonis. I assume you have a message for me? That is very astute, Miss Adonis. The headmaster has sent me to inform me that your first tutoring session has been scheduled. Oh, I had almost forgotten about it. Your appointment is to take place on Thursday at 6 p.m. sharp. Okay, got it. Thursday after class. Your tutor has also added that you should definitely not be late. Okay. Well, thanks for the message, Wisp. You may call me Ventus, Miss Adonis. Okay, Ventus, thank you. Ventus disappears and leaves me in the darkness, so I'll be meeting the Oculus on Thursday. I have to admit, I am a little nervous, but it's nearly a week away and I should have some time to practice before then. But for now, I've got to decide how to spend my weekend. Alright, what do we want to do? Do we want to play games with intellectuals in the common room? I'm gonna be boring and... Let's just meditate again. I spend the afternoon practicing meditation, close my eyes, take a deep breath, empty my thoughts. I think I'm getting better at blocking out the outside world. Alright, we're gonna stop there. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.